think having the door open does help.
Okay.
Are you ready when you are, Tom?
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure.
I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, to tell us who you are and also to spell your name.
Yes, sir. So my name is Jermain Ray. I am the program director down at the old Savannah City Mission. My name is Jermaine. Last name Ray, Ray.
And then pronoun-wise, how do you identify?
I identify as a he.
Thank you.
Yes,
Very
sir.
Nice. Thank you. Let me ask, if it's okay, I really just like to get to know people.
Yes, sir.
So I would be very interested, if you don't mind, and if you would just say, well, I was born in, and kind of just bring us up through, your childhood, adolescence, young adulthood, etc. If you feel like it's important for us to know who your parents were or your grandparents were, I'd be happy to start there.
Yes, sir.
And as you sort of tell that story, what I'll be doing is taking some notes, and then I'll be circling back and asking some questions based on those notes.
Yes,
Okay?
sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right.
All right.
Well,
Yes, sir. So my name is Jermain Ray. I was born in Wilmington, Delaware. I was raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I spent my whole life between Philadelphia and Delaware. I graduated high school and went right into the Army. After graduation, I did 4 years in the Army, 2 years in the National Guard. After I completed that, I got out and I started moving furniture for a living. I worked for Allied Van Lines, a big moving company. Couple years in, I ended up buying my own truck to become an owner and operator. I did that for almost 20 years before my life took a downward spiral. Being on the road 9, 10 months out of the year, I started drinking a lot, and I started doing various drugs, and pretty soon my career went down the tubes quickly. After that, I found myself wandering around doing various jobs for the next 2 years before I decided that I needed some kind of help to get my life back on track. I was coming down to Florida, and I stopped at Savannah, Georgia, and while I was here, I was talking to a gentleman while I was eating lunch, and he told me about the old Savannah City Mission, that they had a program that helps adult individuals get back on track with their life. Eventually, I joined the program. It was a 2-year program. I did 1 year there, and the director at the time, he told me I wasn't going to do the second year of the program because he wanted to hire me there. So I ended up taking a job there as an office assistant for a year and a couple months before he passed away, and Pastor Larry McDaniel, the founder, came back and took over as executive director. He seen the role that I played around the mission, and he called me into the office and he offered me the position of running everything in the building. So for the past 3 years, I've been running the main building, the 2 bargain centers we have. I'm also in charge of lining up volunteers that comes in, scheduling them to come in. I also, I'm in charge of the warehouse. We have a warehouse where we have hundreds of pounds of clothes that comes in daily that we need separated. We separate those into categories. We give our friends and neighbors a shower every day that they come in, and a change of clothes. So we're constantly going through clothes for our friends and neighbors. So that's just some of the general day-by-day activities I do at Old Savannah City Mission.
Wow. That's a lot of moving parts.
Yes, sir.
A lot
Yes,
of
sir.
moving parts,
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let me ask you, if I could, are you a public school kid?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. And so public school, and were you raised in the church?
I was raised in a church to a certain age. When we got old enough where we could tell our mom, no, we're not going, she didn't force us to go. So around 12 years old, I stopped going to church completely. And I think that's one of the things that led me down the destructive path that I took later on in life, that I learned today as I am in the church actively today.
Brothers and sisters?
Yes, sir. I have 3 younger brothers, no sisters.
So you're the guy.
I'm the oldest. Yes, sir.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I was raised with my stepdad was white. My 2 younger brothers are mixed. So us being raised in back in the the 70s, you would think it was a tough time for interracial household. But in the area that we were, we didn't. We were in like an area that we considered Little Italy, and they accepted us, and we had a great childhood.
Well, that's a wonderful story to hear.
Yes, sir.
To hear so much of the other side of that coin. So
Yes, sir.
That's that's great.
Yes, sir.
How did you pick the furniture business? Or how'd that work?
When I was in the military, I was a EMT, combat medic. I was a medic on the helicopter, and during the time that I was there, I just didn't want any more blood and gore in my life after doing it for 6 years. So when I got out, one of my high school buddies at the time, he was working for a moving company, and he said he could line me up with a job. And since I was in shape back then, I was able to move the furniture, and I enjoyed what I was doing. I enjoyed the traveling state to state. So I pretty much fell in love with what I was doing.
Do you mind talking a little bit more about the journey, I would say, the part of the journey where you kind of took a left turn and then went up in Savannah? And I'm also curious about where you had that lunch.
Right.
And,
So.
and who that was.
Right. So, after like I said, after I got out of the truck driver business, not by me, but my actions that caused me to pretty much lose everything. I just floated around, like I said, from job to job. There's always a moving company in a different state that you could go to and work, with a driver. So I kind of just moved around, and I found myself in Aberdeen, Maryland, working for a mom and pop carnival. And I did that for over 7 months. And I woke up one morning and I was like, this is not me. I don't want to do this anymore. And it was in October of 2019. And I left Aberdeen, and my thing was to come down to Florida to start a new life down there.
Were you driving a car, or
I was driving I was driving my truck. I had a pickup truck at the time. That was about the only thing that I did salvage out of everything that I still had my truck.
Still got your wheels.
Yes, sir. So I was on my way down to Florida, and just getting close to Savannah. My drill sergeant at the time was from Savannah when I was in the military, and she's always telling me how nice Savannah was. And since I was coming this way, I stopped off. And like I said, it was down around lunchtime, and I found myself going down Bull Street, and I stopped it was a fast food place right down the road, and I stopped there, and there was a lot of guys out there. They were homeless men in the area, and I didn't know at the time. Popeyes fed them food if they needed it. The manager there had a soft heart for the guys. He used to feed them, and he asked me if I wanted something to eat, and I said yeah. And sitting there eating with the guys, I started telling them a little bit about my story. And one of the gentlemen, he was 75 years old at the time, and he told me about the old Savannah City Mission, and he said they help guys get back on track with their life. And I was the type, me being me, I was like, I'm not doing a program because I felt like I didn't need a program. You always have that little ego, I felt like I didn't need it. But the more I started talking to the guys that actually worked there, and they were telling me about the program, I started softening up. And I spent a couple nights just to get the feel for what they did there at the program. And I like what I see as far as the pastor coming in during lunchtime. You just don't go in there and eat. You go in there, you sit through a sermon. And sitting through the sermon, one of the pastors, it's just something went off in my head back from childhood when I went to church. And I said, I think I'm going to give this program a try. And they had a 30-day trial period that you could go there with no repercussions during the 30 days. If you decide to leave, there wasn't no, animosity or anything. So I said, I'm going to give it a try. And I gave it a try, and it was something that I wish I did back then, of continuing to go to church, because that's what I was really missing out in my life, was the church aspect of everything.
I'm going to use a word that's not religious.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the magic.
Yes, sir.
The magic of the mission is what?
The magic of the mission is the the teachers and the speakers. That's really what got to me, was the fact that they had a thing at the time called Band of Brothers, and it was a all men's Bible study group that met, and that was the first time I experienced felons, judges, lawyers, doctors, everybody from all walks in one hall together without the care of who did what in their life. And it was just an overpowering feeling to see that these guys all band together as one to come for a Bible study, and they don't care what your past was like or anything like that. And that was the main thing that really got in my spirit of staying there, because I was like, everybody's not bad, everybody is, I always had a thing with cops and the judicial system. And once I realized that they were there and they were human beings just like us, and that they were there just for the same thing, to get the spirit of the Lord in them early in the morning, it was an overwhelming feeling for me. And that's really what grounded me as far as staying in Savannah.
So there was something about sitting next to a judge.
Exactly.
As a peer.
Yes, sir.
That helped you.
It was. I sat next to my first time there. I sat next to Judge Edenfield. He passed away, but I sat next to Judge Edenfield. Didn't know he was a judge at the time. He was just another person there, and he started talking, and it was just like, "Where you from?" And I told him. He was like, "Where are you at now in the Savannah?" I said, "I'm at the old Savannah City Mission. I'm in a program there." And he talked to me like, "How's it going?" And he gave me some confident words of, encouragement of like, glad to see that I'm trying to get my life back together. And that's really what touched that. People from all walks in life, they just band together just as one. And that was really the big thing for me, as far as the fellowship and different categories.
And you said early in the morning. How early are we talking here?
We're talking 6 o'clock in the morning. We're usually up at 5:30 in the morning, and we get there at 6 o'clock, and it's from 6 to 7:30 in the morning.
This continues to go on.
It's we go every Tuesday and Friday.
Is it at the mission or in a different place?
No, it's at a different place. We hold it at different churches. One's in Garden City and one's down on Bull Street at Life Church.
Wow.
Yep. It's a breakfast in the morning. We come there, we have breakfast, we fellowship, and then Pastor Kenny Grant gives a 45-minute sermon, Bible study in the morning.
Let's talk about Pastor Grant for a minute. Where did he preach?
He was at Calvary. He moved back to his hometown. Don't get me to know where it's at, but he moved back to his hometown, to a smaller church. He said it was just time for him to settle down and not have the hustle and bustle. But he lives an hour away from Savannah, and he religiously comes every Tuesday and Fridays for Band of Brothers. And he's been a big asset to the mission as far as anything we might need, Bibles or anything. He's more than willing to go out there and get those items for us.
Could you tell a couple of stories about men and or women you've known through the mission who you have seen come in the front doors, metaphorically, and once they did what they needed to do and walked back out that door, have really, quite frankly, become almost different people?
Yes, sir. So, like I said, I run the program there, the 13-month program. We had a gentleman there by the name of Joseph Snow. Joseph Snow, when I was in the program at the time, he was in the program with me, and he ended up exiting the program, leaving it. I went on, like I said, to become an administrative assistant and then running the building. And he came back during that time 2 years ago, and he asked for help. And everybody was like, he's been here 4 times. No. And I'm like, well, I'm in charge of the program now. And I believe in everybody needs a second, third, fourth. I've just looked at how many times in my life that I've had that second chance, and I've had that third chance and I blew it. And I had that fourth chance and I blew it. So I told him that was in the past with a different director that you were in the program. You didn't do it with me, so I'm gonna automatically let you back in. And I let him back in, and he went through the program with no hitches. He ended up leaving, getting a great chef job at a high dollar restaurant in Savannah. He ended up purchasing his first car ever in his life. He's 60 some years old, and he just purchased his first car that he's ever had in his life. And he hasn't looked back. He hasn't looked back. We have success stories like that all the time. We have individuals that graduated the program that's going on to be nurses, that's going on to drive, getting their CDLs. So we have different individuals there that's really grasp the concept of it's a different way. Take it out of your hands and leave it into the Lord's hands, and everything will be okay. So we've had many of successful graduates that went on and did great things. Our chef right now at the time, he was in the program, fell out of the program, went to jail for shoplifting, spent a year in jail before they realized that he wasn't supposed to be there. And he said he's not leaving unless he could come back to Old Savannah City Mission and get back in the program. So he ended up coming back, getting in the program, doing what we were supposed to do the second time, and he's been the chef in our kitchen for the past 7 years. We also have a gentleman that graduated the program, and he runs our bargain center, our 30,000 square foot bargain center, and he's turned that into almost a $500,000 a year business over there. So we've had successful stories in the past.
How does the organized faith community, the other churches, etc., mosques, synagogues, whatever, how do they relate to the Old City Mission? How does all that work?
They've been great. We've had, and like I said, we don't care what religion they come to volunteer. Just last year, I had 100 Mormons at one time. They said, "Hey, can we come here and volunteer?" And I was like, "Come on by." 3 tour buses later, but we didn't care what nationality, religion it was. We knew that they had it in their heart to serve. And that's what we believe in, is the servitude of helping our friends and neighbors in the area. Compassion Christian Church is another big church in Savannah that we partner with. Isle of Hope Church. We have a lot of different churches. And what I do is I try to go around to the churches and, let them know I'm from Old Savannah, and I might go to a Sunday service with them and see how they do things, and just to get our name out there as far as that. So they've been a great help to us as far as they're the main ones that runs our building as our church groups and our volunteers, because we could keep our staff small with the volunteers. We have a staff of 7 people between 6 buildings that we're running. We have 7 full-time staff members, and we serve over 300,000 meals a year that goes to that building. And I think our budget, Pastor said, is at roughly $2 million, and all that comes from the generous donations of the different churches and different organizations in the area we have our word out there, and they've seen what we have done over the past couple of years. And it's really made a difference as far as our volunteers stepped up.
And we're talking about hundreds of volunteers a year?
Yes, sir. We have every year we have a thing called the Great Day of Thanksgiving. We do for the community. Anybody from the community could come out and eat, have a big Thanksgiving dinner with us, where we have the dinner, all the fixings. We have raffles. We give away different items. Last year, I think we had close to 150 volunteers. So that'll tell you the amount of people that we serve during that time of year. It's a big event for us.
Absolutely. So on one day you had 150
Yes, sir.
people come out to do what they
volunteer. Yes,
the
sir.
right thing to do.
Yes, sir.
On a day that many people would choose to be with their
families, and sometimes I got to tell them I got enough volunteers, because I love the fact that so many people are willing to, the day before Thanksgiving, we had it the day before Thanksgiving, that they're willing to come out, like you said, instead of having time with their family, they're willing to come out and serve. But it gets to a point where if you have too many and they're standing idle, you feel like they didn't have the right experience with them. So I try to keep our volunteers down to a bare minimum, because I know there's a lot of groups that want to come and volunteer during that time.
Are you active in a congregation outside of the mission, or is your faith life pretty much contained within the mission, or are you a member of an external church?
Well, Pastor, during the time, he started the Sanctuary Church and the Old Savannah City Mission. He was trying to build up the church, so he passed the mission to somebody else while he built up the church. So our mission is affiliated with the Sanctuary Church, Sanctuary of Savannah Church. So that's the church that I attend when I'm able to. Like I said, I'm usually working 6-7 days a week. So when I'm able to get to church, I always try to get there. But Sanctuary is my church of choice.
Okay. And then I'm just curious, I'm going to ask a couple more questions about you now, if I may. So when you spend money in Savannah, like what I call street money, go out to dinner and stuff like that, what do you like to do? I mean, how do you enjoy what do you enjoy doing here in Savannah, just as a human being?
My enjoyment, like I said, I've been running a mission for the past 3 years, and I've been usually on a 6-7 day work week, so I don't have a lot of time to really get out and enjoy the time. What we do like doing, I have time during lunch, and we like to go out during lunch to different restaurants and trying out different restaurants in the area. So that's one of the things that I like about Savannah.
Do you still live at the mission?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I actually I got an apartment there.
Okay. I don't think I understood that.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I got an apartment there. I'm moving out this year finally, but with me being there, I was able to monitor the activity throughout. When you have somebody in charge 24/7 living there, the friends and neighbors are less likely to act up inside the building. Like I said, I haven't had a major incident inside the building. Our building stays clean 24/7. The friends and neighbors know that it's not for us. We're not cleaning this place up. We didn't spend $1 million on renovations for us. We spent it for you guys. So now that they see that they're actually getting the things that they do. I do a lot of things for them throughout the year. I have a big Easter dinner for them. I have a big Super Bowl party for them. I try to treat them like we will want to be treated and how I want to be treated. I stay humble because I know where I came from and I know where I could go back to. And that humbles me a lot as far as the way I interact with our friends and neighbors. And they know that when I do have to raise my voice or something that they did wrong, and that I'm not like that 24/7. If they do the right thing in the building, I have no say-so in the matter. But if they act up, I have to keep everything intact for the sake of the building.
It occurs to me when you say you friends and neighbors, and when I think about your neighbors, meaning the people in the neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
Things are changing.
It is.
Changing fast.
It is.
What is the politic of that right now?
You can ask any of the stores on our block. They love it because when I took over, before I took charge, the thing around there was just to call the cops. Well, the cops were coming for every little thing, and they're getting tied up on tedious things that should have been handled in-house. So what I did when I took charge is I went around to all the different stores, houses in the area, and I gave them a business card with my personal number, and I told them, listen, don't call the cops. Call me, and I can immediately rectify the situation better than the cops, because all the cops are going to do is take them to another part of town, drop them off, and then they got to find their way back. Well, 2 days later, they're back. What I could do, what I tell them is, I tell them if they act up, I'm not feeding you for a week. When you not feed a man for a couple of days and his stomach starts rumbling, he's real quick to apologize. And once he comes and says, listen, I'm sorry I had a bad day, all's forgiven. It's all forgiven. I let them back in the building, but if they still tend to act up, they're out for that. Usually that's 7 days. But we haven't had nobody reach that 7-day point because they know that we have good food there. We don't have your regular soup and sandwiches. I tell the kids groups all the time, we have Riverboat. They give us all the leftover food from when they come back on their cruises. So these guys have beef Wellington, steak. We have contracts with Longhorn where we get all of their food. The Trade Center when they have a big convention. So these guys are eating good here, and they know that they eat good. So the food there is a big ordeal to them. So when you take that away, that's enough punishment. And we don't like to see anybody go to jail. We don't feel like we know our friends and neighbors have a hard time on the street, and we understand. And that's why we try to tell them, don't act up in front of their other businesses. They still have a business to do. They still have to make money to take care of their families. Come across the street, and if we can help you out with a situation, we will. So we have a good reputation with all of our business owners, all the residents that stay up and down our street. No questions whatsoever. Our police department comes there once a month. We set up a thing called Questions with Cops, where they come to the building and they ask their friends and neighbors, is there anything that's bothering you? And that's the time where they could talk to the police, and the police can let them know, this part of town, you can't hang on, so forth. And it's a good communication with the community to have the police department come there. And then they stay and they help serve lunch, or they stay and help serve dinner. So that, knowing that the police department's there helping out all the time, that tends to keep the crowd down to a medium level there, where we don't have any big problems as far as our neighbors going to any city council meetings complaining.
Do you consider yourself an administrator or a minister, or is there another phrase?
No. I always tell individuals all the time, I'm not a pastor. Most of our building is made up of pastors and preachers. I think there's only me and another individual there. I just consider myself running the building, an administrator. I give words of encouragement, but I always tell the guys when they come to me with major spiritual questions, that's what the pastors and the preachers in the building are for. I'm still a baby in the Bible myself, so I can't answer big technical, questions like that. So I sort of send them to the other people in the building for their religion views.
A baby in the Bible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then, is your mom still with us?
She is. My stepdad passed away about 5 years ago. He passed away. He had he got a heart transplant and it didn't take, so he ended up passing away. But my mom is still living to this day. Yes, sir.
And I would imagine she's pretty happy about what's happening.
She sees 100% difference in me. When I first completed I was close to completing the program. They gave me a pass to go home to visit my family. And I went home, and everybody seen the complete change, the complete 360, where I could see beer and wine and not having a thought of touching it, because I know where it could lead me to. So she seen that difference, and she seen that a lot of my friends I didn't contact when I got back home. And that was a major thing that helped me, is because I sought help outside of my state, where I didn't have any friends, any families to sort of hold my hand. I was a complete different new environment in Savannah, didn't know anybody, didn't know nothing about Savannah. So my time in the program was completely inside the building, because I didn't want to go anywhere, because I didn't know good parts of Savannah, bad parts. And I didn't want to. That wasn't my whole perspective. My perspective was to get well and to get better and to change the destructive path that I was headed down. So that really helped me out as far as not having any family or friends around to interfere with what I was trying to do in my life at the time.
Can you remember when you first kind of stepped into the building, so to speak? Can you remember things that went on that you pushed back against?
I did. It was a lot of things that I seen when I first got there. And some of the handling, some of the staff there, I didn't really think they were fully committed to helping their friends and neighbors. And I understand that when you're dealing with them for years after years, they do tend to wear you down a little bit. But I seen some things that needed to be changed. Security was the top thing for me. These friends and neighbors coming in the building for a 7-day bed, we weren't checking them for knives, guns, bombs inside their book bags or anything. So we didn't know if they were bringing in illegal paraphernalia or anything. We didn't have any cameras to monitor them throughout the building. So I thought that was a big thing that we needed to change. So when Pastor put me in position, a lot of things, that was one of the first things I did, was make sure we had an ample security system that not only I could monitor from there, but I can monitor from my phone from anywhere. Once the friends and neighbors seen that we had a security system, that sort of humbled them too, because they know that they're on camera and they know they're being watched, and they know they couldn't act up like they used to in the past. When something happened in the building in the past, it was just hearsay because there wasn't no proof. But now they knew that we had a camera system and they knew that we had proof. So that changed a lot of their demeanor. They didn't come in there as rowdy as they used to. We have a liquor store straight across the street from the building. It's easy enough for them during the summertime to go across there, get inebriated, come in the building and act up. So that was one of the things we changed. We don't mind a friend and neighbor coming in there inebriated because we're supposed to help anybody. But there's a point to if you're coming in there and you're a safety risk, I'm afraid that you're going to fall and injure yourself, then that's the only time we don't let any individuals in the building. But besides that, we let everybody in, whether they're he, she, they. We just tell them this is a male facility for transgenders that want to come and visit us. It's a male facility, so you have to respect the building. Same with Muslims that come in and may come in for dinner and then knowing they got to sit through a Christian service. That's the way it is, so that's the way it is. You got to adhere to the rules of the building. And they do. They understand and they do.
And then where do you think you'll be 5 years from now?
I'm still running the building. Pastor, he's pretty much, after we build this women's shelter, that was one of the last things he wanted to do. Like I said, he's 80 years old. He's ready to retire. But he doesn't want to retire till the women's shelter is built. So we're in the process now of raising the funds for the women's shelter. And after that's built, what I'm thinking is he's trying to turn it over to me. But, I'm just happy with running the building in itself because I really formed a bond with these friends and neighbors. And I say friends and neighbors because we don't like calling anybody homeless or, saying, here's the homeless man here. We consider our friends and neighbors because, like I said, the 5 years I've been here, I've known the people since I've been here. And some of them listened to what I said and got off the street, but some of them are still on the street. But we consider them our friends and neighbors. That's pretty much the only family I had down here for the last 5 years was the men and women in the area.
So this feels like, at this point, this feels like life's work.
It is, and it is. My goal when I first got here was to graduate the program, get my mind back on track, and go back moving furniture. And during the time here, it just didn't. That was my way of thinking. And the Lord said, no, I got something better for you. And when he placed me in that position, and I had bumpy roads when I first started because it was all new to me. I didn't know nothing about, directing anything. I moved furniture. So it was new with the office and dealing with volunteers and different organizations and grants and everything that came with a director position. My first couple of students I had in the program failed, and I had to put them out, and I felt like I was failing, and I went back to Pastor like, I think I might have bit off more than I could chew. And he was like, no, it's not your fault that they came in here and didn't do what they were supposed to do. So you can't beat yourself up over it. And once I, got home and prayed about it, and I realized he was right. And I may not be able to help 100, but if I could help that one individual, it felt like I did my job. And that's the attitude I have nowadays. I can't save everybody, but the few I do save, it's worth it, to see a complete change, because my mentor seen a change in me and seeing where I came from and where I am. And I'm happy when I see one of my students in the program graduate and go on to bigger and better things. It makes me happy. I have a student that's ready. Next week. Last week in the program, he graduated 2 years. And during that time, he got his CDLs and he got a job at a dump truck company. So I hate to see him leave the nest. Like I told him today, it almost brought tears to my eyes because you get to know these guys, like I said, they become family to you because you're around them. I'm around them almost 24/7. So it's like me raising a child, up, and I really enjoy it. So they're gonna have to kick me out or haul me out to get me from doing what I'm doing now.
I doubt either thing will happen.
Yes, sir.
Um, let me ask these guys, are there pieces of this that you feel like we haven't gotten to yet, or do you feel like we're pretty good?
No, I'm maybe a short, just a gather, sort of like the future, future vision, a future vision,
Okay.
a compressed future vision.
Okay. Organization is like, yeah,
Well,
of the,
well, even spiritually too. I mean,
okay, yeah. As you look forward in your life, and you look forward to life there at the city mission, I mean, what's your, as you look forward in your life, and maybe look forward to life there at the city mission, I mean, what are your highest hopes?
My highest hopes for the mission is to get everybody not to be at the mission. The biggest accomplishment for me would be I have 45 empty beds up in Open Bay. That means that these guys got the proper housing and the proper help that they might have needed. I know it's not good for the mission aspect part of it, but the more empty beds I see in the mission, the more I know that these guys are starting to get it through their head. A lot of our individuals nowadays are younger individuals that are coming in, usually from 18 and 25. We've seen a rash of those in like the last year. What's happening is mom and dad's getting tired of them at the house because they don't want to do nothing, so they put them out. I had a program, so I didn't have a program, but the mission had a program set up called Affordable Housing Program. It was to help individuals that couldn't afford the rent in Savannah. We had rooms upstairs that sort of set up like rooming houses where they pay a small fee a month and they're able to stay there and get the amenities of the building. When that ended, what I wanted to do was use those rooms to help the younger generation get back on track. So I started bringing in younger guys that I seen on the street, trying to hone them into getting jobs and doing better with themselves. It didn't work. And I knew where I went wrong. It was like they were too young and they knew everything in life. And that's how I felt when I was that age too, so it just didn't work. So I went the complete opposite way. There was a lot of individuals that was coming there for lunch and dinner service, elderly individuals that were living off of, their Social Security. And a lot of them were sleeping in their cars because they couldn't afford a place. And that really struck me, that these guys worked all their lives. And they couldn't afford with their Social Security, just couldn't afford to live. And, so I opened it up for elderly men to come there. And it's worked. I don't have a problem whatsoever. They're quiet. The only time I see them is rent day, and it's been great. And those guys are the ones that are more willing to help around the building. They don't have nothing to do during the day, so they might want to volunteer and take the desk or go in the kitchen and help with a meal. So those are the individuals that right now, and I feel like we most need to help are ones that's lived their life and can't afford to live anymore with the cost of living.
So are you a business? Are you a nonprofit?
We're a nonprofit.
Are you a family, or are you a community?
We're a nonprofit organization. We don't receive any government funding because we preach the gospel. During COVID, when all the other missions had shut down that were government funded, we stayed open. We housed the individuals we could, and we fed every day. And we had the churches help us. Compassion Christian gave us a trailer with showers inside of it and a washer and dryer. So we were able to park that at the mission and still give our friends and neighbors showers during COVID every single day. Because I know it was hard for them. Nobody was letting anybody in, so they couldn't even find a place to use the bathroom. So we wanted to be able to help our friends and neighbors during that time. So that's why we continue to stay a nonprofit organization.
story in, because that's a very interesting story.
Yes, sir.
It really supports the rationale of why you've chosen not to receive government funds.
Correct.
That's great. We need to watch our time, we need to watch our time. It's coming up on
Yeah.
4.
Okay.
And I've heard somebody kind of roaming around a little bit, so I'm a little worried that John might have gotten here. We're not letting him in, so I want to be careful about that. Are we feeling okay about this?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
All right.
very,
That was good
I
interview.
think it was wonderful.
Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what you expected, but we got more than we expected.
Yes,
so-
sir.
So we appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, keep up the good work.
I'm trying. Like I said, I had it in my heart, you know, to stay. I love Savannah. I love at the time, 5 years ago, I felt like the small town, but everything's built up in 5 years, you know? So it's like, it was a small town 5 years ago, and now it's turned into a big city, you know, but I still enjoy the historic feeling and everything. I've lived in big cities all my life, Philadelphia, California, Texas. So when I got to Savannah, and just the trees alone, going around seeing the trees and everything, and the historical houses, it just gave me that small town feel. And I think that's what I needed. I needed to get away from that humdrum of the big city
I hear you.
and just settle down and do the right thing nowadays. And like I said, I don't do a lot. Like I said, if he's asking for hobbies or anything, I don't have any. My love right now and my passion is just to serve and to help these guys out that are on the street.
Right.
You know.
You can tell that.
Yes, sir.
You can tell that. That's wonderful.
Yep.
The community is lucky.
Well, yeah, I'm lucky to have the community. Like I said, I'm lucky
It
that.
works both ways.
Yes, sir. The mayor has been a big help to us within the last 2 years. He's did a lot of stuff with us. We just had an event a couple weeks back where he is everywhere, and he's been a major support to. He brings donations down to the mission now by himself, you know, in his car. Hey, I got these, and he drops them off. And when people see that, they know that we really have the support. And when they see the police department there, you know, like I said, with questions with cops or coming to volunteer, helping to serve a lunch. It really helps us, you know, and it shows the community that we have the mayor and the city of Savannah backing what we're doing. So we really have picked up our pace as far as our donations and
You know
everything.
what, could you do this for me? Could you start that thought again and say, I feel good to know that, and say what you just
Yeah,
said.
so I feel good to know that we have the backing of the community. Like I said, for the past couple of years, we had the district attorney come down, take a tour of the building. We had the mayor come down to the building and was really active as far as the great day of Thanksgiving. He came down and gave a speech. He comes down and donates. The police department comes down and volunteers for helping serve lunch or helping to barbecue outside. So when the community sees that support that we have, they're more willing to donate to us. And I'm not the type, when somebody calls up and says, hey, Jermain, I want to donate to the mission, what do you need? The first thing off of me is I need cleaning items, I need socks, I need underwear for our friends and neighbors. We get enough money and support from different agencies and other places that I try to take care of the things that we need inside the mission.
Right.
You coming down the hall?
No, they're out there, they know now.
Okay.
Were you listening then? It was a good what he said.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Okay.
It's great.
All right.
Good stuff. All right, we're cutting.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.